But hey there. This is a story from an anthology. It's actually based off of a tweet which goes, "Every morning, this old man delivers the mail to the ghost town he lives in. No one's ever questioned why. Everyone just assumes he's crazy. But there's a reason behind his actions. This old man keeps his promise." Okay, so I actually think that's a really good premise for a story. So I'm actually quite excited to see what they did with it. Let's get started. So we are introduced to our protagonist. We know he is an old man because he is referred to as old multiple times in this first paragraph. He also has a leather satchel that he carries with him over his shoulder, and he's doing his normal daily routine, which is delivering mail or the post. Now, we don't really have any idea why he's doing this. Why is he delivering mail? And I like that because it kind of creates that mystery right off the bat. Why is he still working? Why is he still doing this job? And as we continue to read, we start to find out a little bit more about the setting. We learn that the village that he's going through is completely abandoned. There are no families, there are no people. Everything is closed up. So why is our protagonist still going through and making these deliveries? Then we start to see the effect that he's having on the outside world. We see children watching him go by and wondering why he's still doing this. And his answer to them is, "Because I promised." And that's all they get. They don't understand why he's doing this. But that idea of he just says, "because I promised," is interesting enough that I want to keep reading and figure out what promise he made. Now, one day this young boy named Peter decides to follow the postman and see what's going on. He wants to see why he's doing this. And this to me reads a little bit like a fairy tale, like Peter went into the woods. Once upon a time, there was a young boy who decided to go and investigate something that he was curious about. So this whole section of the story is basically just Peter following round the postman and seeing what he is doing. And I have to admit, it feels a little slow, like there's a lot of description. And so it took me a while to get through this part. Eventually, Peter sees the postman leave a letter at one of the houses, and it's addressed to someone who's dead. So now we know the postman is leaving letters for the dead. He's leaving letters for people who are no longer alive. And I think that's an interesting twist. Then Peter confronts the postman and asks him why he's leaving these letters. And the postman tells him, "Because when I was young, I promised I would never let anyone be forgotten." So there's your answer. It's because he made a promise. And the way that he keeps this promise is by making sure that everyone gets their mail, even after they re-dead. So as long as there's a letter in the mailbox, he ensures that they remember that person who lived there. Peter doesn't really seem convinced, but he still continues to help the postman deliver all of these letters. And so then the story kind of jumps ahead a little bit. We don't really know how much time has passed, and Peter is now helping the postman deliver the mail. And I guess this to me seems a little weird, because Peter is now also delivering mail to people who are dead. Why is he doing that? Why does that matter? Like, is there some bigger meaning to this? Is there some other reason that he's doing this besides just because he's keeping a promise? And then one day the postman doesn't show up. And so then Peter takes over the route and becomes the new postman. And he's carrying the satchel, which reminds me of like a superhero passing on their mantle to another person. Like the postman before him had the satchel, now he has the satchel. He inherits this responsibility, and he's the one who has to carry it now. And the last line of the story is, "And though the windows were empty, he swore he could feel eyes watching, listening, grateful." The promise was kept. And that ending kind of creeps me out a little bit. Like the idea that the windows are empty, there's no one there, but he feels like they're watching him. That's a little creepy. Overall, I did like this story. I thought it had a nice message. I liked the idea of, keeping your promises. I think that's really important. And it can be easy to forget things that we promised we would never forget. So I think this story serves as a reminder to make sure that you keep your promises. Make sure you don't forget the people that are important to you. I thought the writing itself was pretty good. I feel like the pacing was a little bit off. It felt a little slow in the middle. There was a lot of telling instead of showing, especially in this section where Peter is following the old man around. It just felt like there was a lot of extra description that could have been cut out, and it would have moved the story along faster. Now, obviously, this story isn't very realistic. It's magical realism, right? Because you don't deliver letters to dead people. So it's not a realistic story, but sometimes stories aren't meant to be realistic. They're just meant to teach us a lesson or remind us of something that we already know, but maybe we've forgotten. Now, I did want to point out that this story contains a trigger warning for abandonment, like the idea of a village being abandoned. People leaving, and then there's also the idea of childhood abandonment. Because Peter is essentially replacing the postman. So I think that could be triggering for some people. Another thing I want to point out is the theme of memory. Remembering people, making sure that people are not forgotten is a big theme in this story, and I think that's a really important theme. It's very human. We think about the people who came before us, and we want to make sure that we remember them, that we remember the things that they taught us, the lessons they taught us. We want to make sure that we don't forget them. So I think that's a really good theme to explore. Okay, that's all for me today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.